Yeah, yeah.
All right, so you want to do the compost instead. Okay, but now if I say, Stephen, time to do the compost, you're going to remember without saying, yeah, I'll do it in a minute, Dad, or I got homework to do, or all that, or my friend, okay? And I won't do it when your friend's over, because I know you don't want to do that. Okay, deal? Try it 2 or 3 times, and if not, we'll re-meet.
Yeah.
All right, get at it. Talk to you later. Get it. So that's the attempt to make a constructive speech happen. Frankly, I feel that even making a speech happen or making a meeting like that happen is productive. Now, at this point, I open the floor for a few minutes of discussion on how that went and how it could go better, similar to an evaluation. So please raise your hand and I'll ask you your question or listen to your comment. Sharon?
He's not going to do it, the compost. You can forget about it. I think you gave too easily on his going to the compost side. If he said nasty, compost is nastier, as you pointed out. It's not going to happen, so I don't think he won there.
Okay, but does it make sense that I'm trying to show him that he's going to learn by experience as opposed to me telling him to do that? That after doing it once or twice, he's going to prefer the other deal?
I think the die is already cast in terms of attitude, and no matter what you say, it's not effective. Be stronger or take out the garbage.
Okay. Ken?
Well, it struck me as there was a string of, you had an opening to allow your son to say something, but you kept on running things together.
Oh.
And I think, let's see, to be honest, I think you just failed to do the secret thing and just be quiet once in a while to put
Did you listen?
and well, which really puts the pressure up on them to come forth with something. It's a good psychological game. Salespeople do it with you all the time, and you're selling an idea here.
So I didn't pause enough and listen enough? That when he finished a sentence, I didn't give it an extra few seconds?
Well, you ran things together, and you had a long, we'll say 30-second oratory, or maybe 15 seconds that would have been fine, and then wait for the feedback from that person.
Okay, but can you, and I'm asking, how do you wait? What is the wait that you show you're still listening?
Just dead silence. Honest.
I'm going to pass out. All right. All right. Suzanne.
I'm just finishing a coaching course. And the hardest thing about being a coach is just asking a question and then shush and then listen. And then when they slow down, you ask them another question. You really don't say anything. You have to, the person who's being coached is the one you're trying to draw out their own solutions to the problem. Getting them to create a solution.
I'm glad I finished
really
this project because I can tell I've totally messed up. But at least I'm finding that out. Let me listen to Milton here.
I found it very useful, Vaughn, to close a comment by including the person being coached with the question, does this make sense to you? Because ultimately, action occurs only when the person believes that it's useful.
So I didn't do enough on the consequences.
No, does this make sense to you? And then do what everyone else said, just sit there until they say something. And that is hard.
But then beyond that, you've got to go, because I tend to go that if they say something good, I've listened. And then I want to respond a little to show that I've heard them, but I'm not pausing enough or listening.
You can ask, what are their action plans? What are your priorities? To get them to think about the things to be doing. To create the solution.
Okay.
It's really hard.
This is really embarrassing.
Yeah.
Which I guess is good.
It's hard not to give
Go ahead.
Two things. First, I felt like the chair should have been that way, sideways. I couldn't see the reactions on the son's face, so that would have helped, I think. The second thing that occurred to me is again with listening. Like, I think you were giving solutions. For example, why didn't you do it, you know, and the son says, I don't have the time, Dad. And then you said, like, you go on Facebook, you know, 3 hours a day or something like that. Most probably I would ask the son, you know, explain that, why you don't have time, so what do, you know, and listen to what they had to say, rather than saying, you do this, you know, when the commercials come, you can do this. It boils down to the same thing, I think, ask and then see, you know, give them a chance to explain their, I would have done that, you know. You don't have time, can you explain that? You know, why you don't have time, you know, and this, and see where, you know,
Okay.
the gap is, that's the thing.
One more, Megan.
It seems that you could also use a tactic that we learn in terms of like running a practice and practice management, how to get your employees to do things. You could almost use a similar tactic where you allow him to come up with the solution, and so you do have to have that silence. And if he is able to come up with, well, I don't have time to do that, and then you say, well, then let's talk, I want you to think of a solution of a chore that you can do, and I want you to come up with, you know, what you think is fair to contribute to the family and something that you can do on your time that will work. And then be like, I'm going to give you a day to think about this, and then show me your options and propose it to me. And if he can come up with options, then he's going to feel invested in it, and he's not going to want it to fail because it is his suggestion. So he wants that to be successful because he came up with it. So it kind of gives him a little bit more, you know, autonomy in that he can come up with it and just make his own decisions on what his chores are going to be.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Toastmasters may be about speaking, but it's also about listening. I really appreciate the feedback. Madam, table.